Thanks for joining us today. I'm Gabe Garish, owner of Backwoods Pursuit, and today we are continuing our Sitka layering system review series, and this is the Sitka Kelvin Aerolight Jacket. This is an awesome jacket from Sitka that replaced the Kelvin Light hoodie. So we're going to go over not only some of the differences between these two, what makes them better here in the Kelvin Aerolight system, but also some of the pros and cons to the upgrade. So it's an awesome jacket from Sitka though, and it's one of the pieces that we've been testing out over the last couple of years. Have a lot of experience with both of these jackets, so I wanted to bring that to you, help you decide what is going to work best for you when you're putting together your own layering kit. So stick around and check out our other videos in this series where we're going over a whole bunch of these pieces here to help you build your own kit. As always, really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button for us and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Links to that down in the description, as well as links to our website, backwoodspursuit.com, and a ton of other gear reviews over there. Let's dive into the Sitka Kelvin Aerolight Jacket. All right, so the Kelvin Aerolight Jacket here, a couple of the quick specs on this. You've got 20 denier polyester face, DWR treated as you would expect. It's a puffy jacket and it's very compressible. That's the component of the insulation, the Primaloft Gold insulation with cross-core technology. What that equates to is effectively you get performance of synthetic insulation with the compressibility of down. It's kind of the best of both worlds. It's not quite as compressible as down, but it's very, very similar to a 650 fill down. Now, one of the big things that you get with the Aerolight jacket here that is an upgrade over the Kelvin Light hoodie is the overall warmth. They say is 30% warmer when it's dry like this than the Kelvin Light hoodie. But the biggest upgrade with the Aerolight is the cross-core technology and the Aerolight beads, as they call them. You can't really see it, obviously. It's on the interior, on the insulation, and that allows this to be 90% warmer when wet than the insulation in the Kelvin Light hoodie. So a huge upgrade that way. Of course, that's a difficult thing to really test, but what I can say is that when using this is extremely warm, especially for the 16 ounces that this is, or this being an XL. Being about 17.5 ounces, whereas it's about an ounce heavier on the Kelvin Light. So you've got a lighter jacket than the previous model that is warmer in not only when wet, not only when dry, but especially when wet. So big upgrade that way, and it's more compressible. I found this to be quite a bit more compressible than the counterpart here, the Kelvin Light. So that's one of the downsides to this Kelvin Light hoodie, is it for what it was is not super compressible. They solved that with the Aerolight. One of the downsides to the Aerolight that I found here, the new face material here, the 20 denier polyester is a bit louder than the material here on the Kelvin Light. That's one bummer that I found about the new Aerolights here. It's not nearly as quiet as the Kelvin Light. So for an archery application, that's kind of a bummer. It's not overly loud, but you can definitely probably hear it in the video here. Moving against each other, it is a little bit on the loud side, louder than I would like to have for an archery application, but it still does work. Now, as far as sizing with the Aerolight here, unlike the base layers where I went with a size large across the board and those fit very well in a size large, with the jackets here I ended up going with an XL. And the reason for that is the size large, while it still fit, it was pretty snug and you're not going to be able to do much layering underneath it. So I went ahead and sized up to an XL with the jacket here, and this was pretty much across the board with all of the Sitka jackets. I ended up sizing up one size versus what I was doing with the base layers. So as you can see here, the fit's still very good even though it's an XL. It is a little bit bigger in the body here. So you gain a little bit too much here for my body build. Specifically, I'm 5'11", 185, and so it's a little bit much here, but the shoulders and the arms here and the chest were just perfect, which that was what the critical part was. There's kind of a snug points here around the chest and the armpits, so I felt like I really needed to go up to the XL. Not only that, but it really allowed me to go ahead and layer as I needed to, put some of the other pieces when, by the time you're putting this on, oftentimes you have multiple layers underneath, so it gives plenty of room for layering underneath that. And it's still not very bulky, or the arms still taper really well. So you can still put this under something like the Jetstream or another jacket if you really need to layer up and get some extra warmth out of this. So real super versatile that way. The Primaloft Gold insulation is not bulky. In fact, you you feel what's in this and you wonder how it's as warm as it is, because it is really, really, it just doesn't feel like it has a ton of insulation in it, but is super warm. So very impressive that way with the Primaloft Gold insulation. All right, so how did I use the Aerolight in my hunting during early season archery? It's my go-to puffy jacket. I always take one with me, at least a puffy, because temperatures can vary widely during archery season. It can be 90 in the afternoon, but then at times a storm can blow in and it can be below freezing in the 20s overnight. So you always want to have a puffy with you. And so I take this one, stuff it in my pack all the time, even if I don't think I'm going to need it. I always want to take it. And it's a little bit, like I mentioned, a little on the noisy side. You can hear the material rubbing together. Not so much so that it was a problem for me, especially because the arms taper, and so you're not getting too much of that, but it is a little bit noisy, and noisier than the Kelvin Light hoodie, so that was a little bit of a bummer. I like the quietness of that fabric a little bit better than the Aerolight fabric, but you can't have it all, because that's probably where they shaved the weight, or at least one of the areas that the weight was shaved. Now, as we transition over to October, November type hunting, this became an outer layer over the top of a couple, 2 or 3 base layers. You take it on or off as you're hiking, as you need it. But then if temperatures really dropped, you can throw this over, of course, 3 or 4 base layers, or throw the Jetstream jacket, which we're going to do the review on next. That's next in the series here. Put that over the top of this, and that works really well for your windbreak in the Jetstream. Or you could put the mountain vest underneath this for your windbreak. Either one works really well. Just a ton of options, but this is a moderately warm puffy jacket, basically. If you need something really warm for those super cold temperatures, you're obviously going to step up to something with more insulation. But for most applications, if you combine this with other layers and a jacket potentially over the top of it, you're going to be covered for just about every situation you're going to need, and in such a lightweight package. So that's how I used it. It worked really well that way. It's just a great layering piece, super lightweight, DWR treated. It kind of has about everything that you need and performs really, really well when wet as well, especially versus the Kelvin Light hoodie here. So that's how I use this. Again, I'll put a link to this in the description for you so you can check it out for yourself. Drop any questions or comments for me if you have any questions on this particular jacket or any of the pieces in this series that we're going through. Love to help you out and see if we can get you pointed in the right direction. Thanks for joining us here today. We'll see you next time.